Hey guys, Hailey Lain, aka Key Black here with another episode of Off the Cuff. At the time of me recording this, it is about a week and a half after Anime Matsuri, and I am still very much feeling my oats about it. In the days leading up to Anime Matsuri, I did mention that I was going to be helping out with two of Jess's panels. One is Cinema Aficiona, Anime That Lasts, and the other one was the Yu-Gi-Oh! Kazuki Takahashi's Historically Accurate Fanfiction panel. You guys have heard me, Jess, and Monpian all talk at length about Yu-Gi-Oh! For the last several episodes, but I also want to talk a little bit about some of the series that they addressed during the Cinema Aficiona panel, or more specifically, my experiences with some of those series. The first one that I want to talk about is a show called Giant Robo: The Day the Earth Stood Still. If you're not familiar with it, it is a 7-episode OVA series produced in the 90s. Jess showed me this show while I was still living in Australia, and so this was about 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago now. And one of the main reasons I want to talk about it is since watching that show, I can kind of track how dramatically my tastes in storytelling have changed. The basic gist of the story is that it follows two teams. One is the good guys, one is the bad guys. You've got the experts of justice trying to stop the evil forces of Big Fire from taking over the world using this unstable new energy source in kind of this post-nuclear age era. The main character is a young boy named Daisaku Kusama who controls a giant robot created by his father, Giant Robo. On the surface, it's a very simple kind of good guys versus bad guys kind of story, but there's a lot more to it than that. I don't want to get too in the weeds on it. Jess had told me that there was a lot of history to this show. I was a big fan of Osamu Tezuka prior to this, and she told me that the original characters for Giant Robo were all created by a guy named Mitsuteru Yokoyama, who was not only a contemporary of Tezuka's, but also is pretty much responsible for creating most of the genres of anime that we know today. Now, despite me being a massive weeaboo, I actually have not seen that many anime. I was specifically a fan of One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Detective Conan off and on. At the time, I had never really seen any of the classics. So I'd never seen a giant robot show before. I'd never really seen any of the stuff that I could compare and contrast this series with. It was just it's kind of a whole new experience for me. Now, prior to watching this show, to lay a little bit of groundwork, I was incredibly pretentious about oh, I know my anime, I know my tropes, I know my storytelling. I didn't. It was very much, pretentiousness on my part. I'm not a storyteller, as you guys have heard me say many times on this off-the-cuff series. I'm a visual artist, and what I love to do is to work with good storytellers who know what they're doing so that I don't have to think about it. But you gotta picture me at the time being really pretentious and arrogant going into watching the show. I know what I'm about to see. This'll be fun, but I get it. It's a Sunday night. We're about 10 minutes into the episode, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It opens on this, in a future yet to be. It's a very hype kind of just fun, sincere, exciting show to start watching. About 10 minutes in, I guess, there's a kind of a calm scene after things have cooled off, and during this scene, I'm like, okay, yeah, I get what we're watching, and if you guys used to watch my channel, you know the kind of stuff that I was posting at that time. Very camera muggy. I love to perform in front of a camera, and so while I'm on a call with Jess, we're watching this on Discord together, I bring my eyes away from the show. I'm not really paying attention, it's fun, but I'm not really giving it my full attention, and so I decide I'm gonna smile at Jess and demonstrate how much fun I'm having. I was more concerned in the moment with how I was appearing while I was watching this with her than actually watching it. By the time I look back on screen, Jess goes did you catch that? And I'm like, huh? What? Catch what? We rewind and we rewatch the scene. What I had missed in this otherwise very calm scene was a single flash of a character's expression doing something that it wouldn't be doing if that character was telling the truth the whole time. And that single shot, literally a split second long, completely changed the meaning of the entire episode up until that point. I was floored, and I got really defensive about it. I was like, but I was just showing you how much I was having fun with it. I was totally full of it. But I started actually having to pay attention to the show after that, and I forget exactly how long episode 1 is. I want to say 45 to 50 minutes long. But when I started really paying attention to it, I realized just how good this show was. Just speaking as an animator, the animation is absolutely fantastic. The character designs are beautiful. The characterizations are great. The acting's wonderful. I mean, hell, you even have Dan Green performing the role of his life as the villain character. They've even got a live symphony orchestra playing the entire soundtrack. And I'm watching this with Jess, and by the end of the episode, I am in tears. I'm like in hysterics. It's not because the episode was overly emotional or like overly sad and I was crying at what happened in it. It was more, I was having kind of a breakdown. I was like, what am I doing with my life? If this is what animation can make, what on earth am I creating and working on and spending my time on that's anywhere near as meaningful as this animation? I literally went to bed crying into my pillow because I was like, I'm wasting my life. But the next morning, I woke up more excited and more inspired than I have ever been to be an animator, to have the opportunity to maybe work on something like this. I've mentioned before on various platforms that the original reason why I went into animation was because I really liked Sonic the Hedgehog growing up. But all it took was a single night and a single exposure to something genuinely good to completely tear that down and build up a whole new, much more meaningful reason to be doing what it is I'm doing. I'm trying to avoid spoilers in terms of what actually happens in Giant Robo, but suffice to say, the show itself completely revolutionized my tastes. I have a whole new standard for what I consider good now. And if you guys have not seen Giant Robo, I cannot recommend it highly enough. There are 2 English dubs. If you watch it, definitely watch the second English dub. Again, you'll recognize Dan Green playing the role of the villain, Genya. And I think it's still for purchase on Amazon as a Blu-ray box set. So I hope you guys check that out, and if you do, I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did, because holy cow. And I think that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening and for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again.